There's a city on earth unlike any other, a place where heaven and earth seem to touch, a city soaked in history, faith, war, and prophecy. Jerusalem, sacred to billions, stands not just as a geographical location, but as a symbol of divine purpose. Yet today, one of the greatest battles over this city isn't fought with weapons, but with words. Many Islamic leaders claim that Jerusalem never belonged to the Jews, that it was always part of Islamic heritage, and that Israel holds no historical connection to it. But what if the truth is far older than politics? What if the very stones of Jerusalem could speak? What would they reveal? Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our deep explorations into faith, history, and truth. Now let's uncover what the evidence says about who really belongs to Jerusalem. You can feel it under your feet, the weight of centuries pressed into the soil. Beneath modern Jerusalem lies a buried world, and when archaeologists dig, what they discover are not stories or legends. They uncover facts, physical, solid, undeniable. Ancient Hebrew inscriptions, remnants of once glorious temples, and royal seals bearing the names of kings mentioned in the Bible have all been unearthed. These finds aren't recent political fabrications, they are thousands of years old, predating Islam by over a millennium. And they're all concentrated in the very place Islamic claims deny ever belonged to the Jews. While Islamic tradition reveres Jerusalem, something striking emerges when we turn to the Quran itself. In all its verses, Jerusalem isn't named even once. Not directly, not indirectly, not by metaphor or hint. Even the so-called reference in Surah 17:1, from the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque, offers no city, no temple, no location. At the time it was written, no mosque existed in Jerusalem at all. So how did the Islamic link to Jerusalem begin? Not through scripture, but through strategy. In the 7th century, long after Prophet Muhammad's death, the Umayyad dynasty ruled from Damascus. With Mecca under the control of political rivals, they needed another spiritual center. They chose Jerusalem, not because the Quran led them there, but because their political situation did. They began constructing Islamic structures on what Jews knew as the Temple Mount. They built the Dome of the Rock and later the Al-Aqsa Mosque, not to honor ancient Islamic tradition, but to rewrite it. The goal wasn't reverence, it was relevance. By claiming Jerusalem, they could challenge the growing power of their enemies in Mecca. Thus, Jerusalem's connection to Islam was born, not from revelation, but revision. Just outside the old city walls lies one of the most significant archaeological sites in the world, the ancient city of David. Here, buried beneath centuries of earth, are the remnants of a royal Jewish city that existed 1,000 years before Islam. Excavations have revealed massive stone structures, fortifications, and even official seals belonging to figures named in the Bible. Evidence has been uncovered that links the area to the reigns of King David and King Solomon. Tunnels beneath the city match the biblical account of Hezekiah's efforts to secure water for Jerusalem during times of siege. This is not myth. This is not interpretation. This is physical history confirming what the Bible has said all along. For centuries, Jews have turned their faces in prayer toward one sacred place, the Temple Mount. It's the very site where Solomon built the first temple and where the second temple stood until it was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. Islamic leaders today often claim that no Jewish temple ever stood there, yet archaeology says otherwise. In the late 1990s, unauthorized digging on the Temple Mount led researchers to recover thousands of ancient artifacts. Among them were pieces of temple flooring, Jewish religious objects, and inscriptions bearing the Hebrew name of God, Yahweh. Stones from this site bear the same Herodian style used during the Second Temple period under King Herod. Coins discovered here date back to the Hasmonean and Herodian dynasties, centuries before Islam ever came into existence. And then there's the Western Wall, the only remaining part of the Second Temple's retaining structure. Its massive stones were set in place by Jewish hands more than 2,000 years ago. They remain there today, standing as silent testimony to a truth that cannot be buried. Long before the Quran was written, long before the rise of Islam, the Jewish people worshipped a God whose name was not vague or generic. His name was Yahweh. Archaeologists have uncovered more than 100 inscriptions bearing this sacred name. These artifacts date from 800 to 600 BC, spanning across Israel and Judah. Some of these inscriptions even include specific phrases like Yahweh of Samaria and Yahweh of Teman, linking God's name to real places and people. Amulets and scrolls bearing his name have survived the centuries, including the silver scrolls with the priestly blessing from the Book of Numbers. These artifacts predate both Christianity and Islam. And yet they don't bear the name Allah. They speak of Yahweh, the God who spoke to Moses from the burning bush. The Quran never uses the name Yahweh, not once. And there is no archaeological record showing Jews or early Christians ever worshipping a god named Allah. If history matters, in today's world, facts can become uncomfortable. That's especially true when they challenge long-held narratives. Some Islamic leaders now say the Jews never had a temple in Jerusalem, that their presence in the city is a modern myth. But even early Muslim historians disagreed. Writers like Al-Tabari and Al-Muqaddasi acknowledged the deep Jewish roots in Jerusalem. They spoke of the temple and its sacredness without hesitation. It wasn't controversial then, it only became so when modern politics got involved. Now propaganda is being used to try and erase what archaeology keeps revealing. But stones don't lie, and every time a shovel hits the soil, another piece of truth rises to the surface. Before Muhammad was born, before Islam formed its first verse, Jerusalem was already holy, already known, already loved. It was the heart of Israel, the place where God's presence dwelled, where prophets preached, kings reigned, and worship echoed through the halls of the temple. Islam may not acknowledge this, but the ground cannot deny it. It is written in the soil, in the stones, and in the sacred name carved into the past, Yahweh. So when you hear the claim that Jerusalem was never Jewish, ask the ground. Walk its ancient paths, stand before the stones still standing, and remember truth doesn't need to shout, it only needs to endure. Like, comment, and share this video if you believe the truth should be seen, not silenced. And if you want to discover more untold stories from scripture and history, start with the Bible. It hasn't changed in over 3,000 years, and neither has the truth it tells.